Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are here with another book review. I got into the fantasy series this year. Like fantasy genre, not series, sorry. This year, and I have been so impressed. From A Court of Thorns and Roses to Throne of Glass to Fourth Wing. Those series were just so good. Like, between A Court of Thorns, Roses, and Fourth Wing, I would 100% reread. And before now, I wasn't, had any books where I was like, I want to reread that. I'm dying to reread that. I have to. Whatever. And there's now been another added to that list. It's a hunky one. Alchemised. This book. I am still speechless from it. And trying to figure out my thoughts, but it's hunky. There's 3 parts to it, and I think I want to do this one a little differently and try to give you some warnings and what you should expect when reading it. So obviously it's 1,024 pages. The writing is not terribly small. However, there's a lot on each page. Normally when you're reading, you can kind of just skim. Not skim, but you don't have to take in every single word literally. This book, you have to. Every sentence, there's so much information and so much going on that you really need to pay attention. So general themes of this book, I would say, are dark romance and tragedy, because your heart will be broken a few times while reading it. And definitely not understand what to feel and just feeling all the emotions from love, fear, anger, sadness. And you will be happy at some points, but it's more of a sad happy because the main characters have gone through so much and deserve a happy ending, and you just are yearning for everything they're yearning for during this war and wanting it to be over and wanting their happy ever after, even though when you've been through so much, there's not really such a thing as happy ever after. Okay, so there are several aspects of alchemy introduced. So you have pyromancy, vivimancy, animancy, and a few others. But those are the main ones we'll see. Oh, and then a metallurgist. I don't even know if I'm saying I don't know. Metallurgist? Who knows? That they can change metal. And it's all called resonance. The feeling of the powers in your body and your bloodstream, basically. And without it, then they're just basically human. Well, they are human, but they just don't have any, weapons within themselves. And obviously some of them know combat and such, and they're put in the war, whatnot. Then there's also the necrothals. Oh, necromancy. That's another one. So necrothals, leeches, all part of the undying. And they're immortal, so we have mortality and immortality introduced as well. Which I really loved all the aspects of the book, because it's how are you going to kill the bad guys if they can't die? Alright, so part 1 is 21 chapters. Which, for this book, it's hefty. So part 1 alone is 278 pages. And with a book this big, it's only this much of the book. And so part 1 is a lot of world building and a lot of information being thrown at you. You have Helena and she has no memory. Her memory of the last 14 months, she has no recollection of. So we're kind of lost with her. But she's the last of the eternal flame. So we see her struggling to remember and being captive and them trying to interrogate her. But she has to get pregnant, but she can't because they did some procedure on her and she can't have kids. And all of a sudden her memories come flooding back. And that is in part 2. Part 2 is the last 14 months that she could not remember. So it has everything. and we find a lot more information about her captors and other people who are introduced in part 1 as bad guys who may not actually be bad guys. But do we know? We won't know until the very end, except for her captor. We do kind of see some hints of romance here in part 2. You feel for the captor and Helena because everyone is always against them, trying to bring them down. It's them against everyone else, you know? And then, like, the tragic upbringings, it's just a lot. So, part 2, you really go through it, and that one is another large chunk. It goes from chapter 22 to chapter 65. So this is really, like, the big chunk of the book, is the 14 months that she couldn't remember. And just understanding everything that happened from finishing the war, all the steps she tried to take, and you find out how smart she is. You find out how smart Helena is and what things she may have come up with to give the Undying to use against her in her capture. But you're like, how did they find this out? Who is the one who betrayed them? So part 2, it goes to page 853. That's this much of the book. So part 1, part 2, part 3. So part 2 is a massive chunk of the book. Your emotions will be all over the place. Like, I was literally sat there speechless so many times, just staring at the wall and being like, what am I reading? Did that really just happen? Like, I read this with a book club online through Fable, and I was just like, so dumbfounded. Like, what is going on? Like, I needed to know what happened. I dedicated myself 100 pages a day to get this finished faster. And I ended up finishing it in 9 days because some days I just kept reading and reading because it's so good and consuming. So then we have part 3. We have the beginning of her capture where she didn't remember the memories. Then finding out all the memories she lost. Then part 3, her trying to figure out how to live this life, now knowing everything that happened. And then racing to the finish of the book, you are absolutely fearful, I would say. You're fearful that more tragedy is going to happen. And that's all I can say on part 3 because a lot happens in part 2 and 3 that are so important to reading it that I just can't really share much about it. But I definitely recommend it. And I can't say enough about it because it truly took me by surprise. And I was so scared to read it because I thought like aspects of alchemy would turn me away. But really that dark romance and the tragedy of it all really kept it interesting. And the world building is probably one of the most interesting world buildings I've ever seen. Like, I thought I was obsessed with Fourth Wing. I am obsessed with Alchemised. Like, I 100% recommend it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. To be honest, like, during the world building, I was like, maybe a 4 out of 5. Like, no way this is going to get to a 5 out of 5 for me. But it definitely did, and I definitely recommend it. And you should read it. Don't be scared of how large it is. If you have to, break it up like I did. It doesn't have to be 100 pages a day. It could be 50. It will take you longer, but you can definitely get it done. And I think once you start reading it, you won't regret it. There were so many chapters where I was just sat there like, what is going on? Like, it was literally, it took me by surprise so bad. Go read it. Thank you so much for watching.